Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Slipstream F1 Championships. And these drivers have a tall order here today at Monaco. A lot of drivers here are going to be going through a rough time. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Anthony McCurry. And Anthony, this is going to be an interesting race for these drivers. There's a different rule sets that are being implemented for the rest of the season.
Different rule sets, and it's the toughest circuit on the entire season. This is going to be a test of attrition, the shortest track on the circuit as well. And yeah, like the rule changes that we mentioned, the race distances have been shortened. So this race is going to be a 50% race. The remainder of the season is going to follow suit. Also, the damage has been reduced for this race, and a lot of other things have happened during the week that we've been off. We've had teams go pretty much fold up. We've had some teams join the series, and a lot of the same drivers are still here. For example, as you're seeing on our ticker on the side, we've got a Mercedes and the return of Renault, but not with Matthew Dyer. It's going to be Spencer Hardison. He was supposed to be in Red Bull. I don't know why he's in Renault, but nonetheless, what about the other changes to the series?
We've got a lot of new things for these guys to be worrying about. Like we said, for this race, only for this race, is the reduced damage. Usually the drivers are running it on full. That will continue after this race here at Monaco. But yeah, full time for the rest of the season, 50% on the track. So all the laps that we were seeing, those 60, 50, now what would have been for this race, 72 laps here at Monaco, is now being cut down to only about 20 to about 30 laps at most, as these drivers are going to be figuring out how to get around here at Monaco. With drivers, I mean, we've seen a lot of team changes. The whole entire Racing Point team is gone now. We saw that some drivers deciding to retire from the rest of this season. They might be back next season or later on, but the whole entire Racing Point team is out, with that changes, as we see here, Cosmic Clouds is going to be moving to the Mercedes, and joining Mercedes is actually going to be Patrick Young, and Patrick was not able to make it to today's race. He will continue on and will come back hopefully next week, as he downloaded the game here today, was not able to get it finished just yet. But a lot of drivers, I mean, they're expecting for this season to go well for them, but the driver that's been dominant all season long, 4 wins this season, looking for win number 5. That's Bronson Stafford that we're on right now. And just based off of practice, it looks like this is going to be another dominant performance.
Yeah, this is a really tough track, and he seemed to figure it out. I've noticed that he's been able to take some of these turns a lot better and smoother than a lot of these other drivers. It's a really tight circuit. Monaco is one of the crown jewel races. It's a part of the Motorsports Triple Crown, which consists of this race, the Indy 500, and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So if you win today, you've basically checked off one of the crown jewel events, and it's a tight circuit. This is one of the very first legacy tracks that was in Formula One. These cars are almost too fast for it, but that's what makes it challenging. You got to be careful with the smallest circuit on the smallest track on the circuit, with the guardrail literally enclosing on you. It's going to be a close one for sure.
It really is, as Bronson Stafford at the moment during practices ran a 111.6. No one else has ran a 111. Good to see JD has finally figured out this track, as he'll be putting down a 112.3, but Baricchi, he's going to be falling back, as well as the Ferraris. They're second in points by a long while. I mean, these points are looking ridiculous, with AlphaTauri, Bronson Stafford having 103 points compared to JD, who's second in points with only 63. I mean, that's a 40-point advantage to Bronson Stafford, who could miss a race and then finish back in like 8th place and just feel fine, or that AlphaTauri and still have the lead. Other drivers out here that are trying to make some moves forward. We have Frozen out here, and Frozen proved to us here today you can wreck out of this race if you decide to drive hard enough into the wall. With the reduced damage, most drivers are just going to be losing some winglets here or there, and possibly could just lose their full wing, but not taken out of this race completely.
Yeah, it's one of those things you have to be careful again, is how close the track is. This start is going to be chaotic. It's a really, really short run down into turn one, and then on the way up the hill, it's going to be a tight start of the race and probably one of the more chaotic starts we're going to have. But practice is over. You see there, first place, Bronson Stafford in the AlphaTauri with a 111.6, JD in the Ferrari with a 112.3, and Brakey in the Ferrari with a 112.8. So the Ferraris are still showing some consistency.
Yeah, still up there battling for podium finishes, and that's really the best way for them. As right now in constructors, they're up by 4 points after over AlphaTauri, so they're going to be having hopefully another 2-3 finish here. Due to the fact that we don't see Hazardous here, that's a big disadvantage for the AlphaTauri team on constructor side of things. But as the driver's getting ready for qualifying, I see some wet and rainy atmosphere out here. Anthony, qualifying in the rain. This is a factor we haven't seen at all season long. Rain is here.
And it couldn't have been at the worst track for rain. We saw some rain at the beginning of practice last week in Barcelona, but it didn't last the entire session. It's downpouring right now. The lights are on here at the circuit. It's going to be chaotic. You got to watch out for going into Sandoval. It's going to be one of the key points. If you mess up the first turn, then it sets you up for the rest of the lap. Other key points that you got to be careful in. Massenet at the top of the hill. If you can get a nice run through there into Casino, everything's going to be fine. We're on board now. Tanner Johnson's got the lead so far into Sandoval, and he already starts into the front. Bronson's going to take the lead.
Bronson and AlphaTauri is going to be getting the lead here, and he's going to be trying to pull away. They're in the inner, so still not completely downpour, but still very much a lot of weather for these drivers to be watching out for. Purpling Sector 1 ahead of the whole entire pack. And really, Bronson is the driver that we have in confidence is going to be the driver that gets this thing done in qualifying, as long as he doesn't bend it here, as we're coming to probably the most tricky part of this track, moving from the wet surface to the tunnel, and then out of the tunnel it's going to be moving from dry to wet. This is the scariest part of Monaco in the rain.
This is the fastest part of the circuit too, into the Nouvelle chicane, downhill quickly to the left, don't hit the guardrail, to the right. Oh, and he makes it through okay. Now on the run down towards the swimming pool, second fastest part of the track, and this is going to be the part. Whoa! He loses a bit of his front wing, he hits a bit of the wall, and Tanner Johnson actually retired from the race through the swimming pool down into Rascasse. I'd say it's going to be Bronson Stafford taking this pole.
Bronson is already going through here, and as we look back, that's where Spencer Hardison is. He's all the way back the field, coming across the line. It's the AlphaTauri machine of Bronson Stafford across the line the quickest by almost a second and a half. That is a blistering time in the rain for that machine.
Definitely proven that he's the master of the wet weather in this series so far, and our first qualifying in the rain, and Bronson was able to handle it really well. And look at these times. Tanner Johnson, again, has found a way to go out of the race. I'd be careful if I were him. He went out in practice and now in qualifying. Hopefully it doesn't rain for the race. And hopefully we have a dry session for the running of the Slipstream Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah, another driver on that Haas team as well, Frozen. We're looking to see if he can figure out how to stay on course and have a consistent day, as that was something we were documenting last week. He's got the pace to be up front, but it's having that consistency to have a top 3 or even a top 5 finish.
Correct, and it's going to be hard at this track because passing is almost impossible. It's another, we keep telling about the challenges of Monaco is there's barely any room to pass. So basically where these drivers qualified, they're going to have to find a way to get more positions. There's only a couple of places that you could realistically do it. Indocin Duval is one of them. So it's going to be one of these issues where basically I think we're looking pretty much at the finishing order unless we have pit road strategy.
Just looking at the chat right now, we got Patrick Young in there, and I know he's upset that he's not racing here today. We're excited to see what that Mercedes machine's going to do in the coming weeks, because I follow other and I commentate on other racing leagues where we have Bronson and Patrick racing. They're both very quick, similar times, and I think Patrick is someone that could really push Bronson Stafford to the max and possibly even be a driver that could steal a win from this AlphaTauri team that's looking, just based off the pace that he's had during practice and qualifying, is going to be a walk in the park as long as he doesn't make a mistake.
Yeah, and hopefully that everyone can get through turn one okay. That's a place that we're going to see a lot of the mistakes made, but the cars are leaving the grid. All questions will be answered at the end of 39 laps. That is our race distance, and it looks like it's going to be a bright and sunny day here in Monte Carlo.
Bronson Stafford breaking Cosmic Clouds, JD, Spencer Hardison, Rosen Inerta, and Tanner Johnson. That's going to be your lineup for today's race. And as you can see, it's looking like it's going to be dry. There's some drivers that are going to be looking for that one stopper from mediums to hards. The others looking for two stopper as we start to get all of our telemetry up for us to see exactly how these drivers are going to be running. A couple of drivers decided to go mediums, could be thinking about that one stop. As Bronson Stafford's on the softs, he's most likely going for it too.
It wouldn't be the worst strategy to do a one-stop race. The one-stops would definitely save you some time, and this is a tight pit road. I would imagine that if you can get this similar pace on mediums that you would on softs, although in practice we saw that the softs were definitely the faster tire, almost a full second and a half faster. We'll have to see how the strategy plays out. What are your thoughts on this race? What do you think is going to happen?
I mean, I'm intrigued that Bronson's on a different strategy than Brake. We've seen that all season long, and it's been Bronson that's been having an advantage every week. But every week, we've been seeing Bronson try to push him to make this a one-stopper at every track. Now on the softs, he's forcing himself to do a two-stop here. So something a little bit different than what we've been seeing all season long. Excited to see where Bronson's going to be at the end of this thing, and also with Frankie, who's been taking notes all season long, if maybe this one-stopper is going to work out.
All the questions will be answered, like I said earlier, at the end of 39 laps. Cars back forming on the grid. We'll look for the 5 lights, and then we'll get the Monaco Grand Prix underway. As we're waiting for the lights, there we go. We had a little bit of glitch in the game. Lights are out. Here we go. Out down into the first turn. And it's going to be a couple of drivers. The Ferrari's gotten around on the outside. It looks like it's going to be JD trying to challenge for the lead going up the hill. Both Ferraris are on the inside going around at the test, and it's going to be one of the closest turns of the track. Bronson Stafford's going to have the advantage. Down into there, but for the first time, it looks like Bronson's going to be having the lead.
Yeah, that was a fantastic move. Oh no, the Renault coming in a little behind. Hard contact between himself and the Mercedes. As we'll see them continue to move forward, but I think the Renault and the Mercedes might have a little bit of wing damage as they're coming through the tunnel.
The tunnel for the first time down into the Nouvelle chicane. Bronson Stafford's got the lead, but the 2 Ferraris are right behind him. It looks like that the Mercedes of Cosmic Cloud's going to be right there with them. These drivers are already almost in the first lap. As we go through the swimming pool section and a couple of quick left-right rights, and it's going to be really close as the Mercedes of Cosmic Cloud gets on the brakes a little too hard and smokes the tires up, but Bronson Stafford's going to try to pull away from these Ferraris who are hungry to try and get them. We're already through with 1 lap.
1 lap done. We've got 38 more to go as these drivers are running hard. We've talked about it all season long. How nice are they going to be playing with one another? As JD trying to pull and catch up to Bronson Stafford right now on the softs, equal to Bronson Stafford. Breaking his goal is just to stay close for when they have the pit. He can continue running ahead.
That is true, and we have to keep remembering that Bronson is on the faster compound tire, as you mentioned. And the Ferrari of JD runs wide and clips his wing.
That is terrible to see, as even if you break just a winglet, you are in such a disadvantage. He'll have to figure out how to get out of the way for his teammate, because if he doesn't get out of the way, he's slowing both of them down.
They had both just swapped positions on the front straight before that incident happened, so now they're going to be thinking about switching positions again. As now coming through the swimming pool section again, they're going to have to figure out how to get through. I don't know how much damage that car's got, but looks like he's struggling to go through these turns.
Yeah, there's a little bit of right winglet missing for the Ferrari, and that is terrible horrible here in such a technical track of Monaco that these drivers are looking for every inch of downforce helping through these corners, and it is looking like a struggle and a pain here for JD as he continues to push forward, as there looks like there's Tanner Johnson in the back. Might have had some issues.
Looking back to see what has happened to Tanner Johnson, he's slow. He's also missing an end plate on his front wing. It's on the left side. Doesn't look like that car is not in a very good way at all. He's slammed into the guardrail going up the hill, and I would be really concerned of that driver. I think he might want to come in for a stop to get away. He's got nothing to lose. He's all running in the last place position. He's gonna have to think about tire strategy though, because we're only 3 laps into this race. I don't think he's gonna want to pit so soon, but you can't go on like this for too long. You're just gonna lose too much time. And his teammate Frozen just slammed into the wall. It's gonna hold up both of the Haas drivers.
That's terrible. Both Haas machines having issues. One with wing damage, one blocking the track, because they both have to back up there, wasting so much time for one another. As now we'll see. I mean, Frozen hit that wall hard, but I don't think he broke his wing too hard there, as he's missing the same amount of winglet as his teammate as he overshoots that corner completely.
He overshot the Nouvelle chicane and had to slow it down. He didn't hit the wall, but his teammate Tanner's going to go through both the Haas's with a horrible first start of the race. And man, oh wow, you can tell that Frozen's having a hard time getting around this track. There's something wrong with that Haas machine, and going in to the final section of the track, I would think about pinning, and I think that he is. Yeah, here comes Frozen and Erda. First driver on pit road, and you know that that's not what he wanted to have happen.
Absolutely not. Moving back up for the battle for third place, breaking under heavy fire from the Mercedes team, as Cosmic Clouds is right there on the back end of both Ferraris, and it looks like JD might have gone a little bit wide there, giving side by side with both Ferraris.
That is the tightest turn on any of these tracks. They have to have a special lock just to make that turn, and Brake's going to go through by his teammate. I'm surprised that he didn't hand the position over. He's basically holding up these 2 drivers behind him. There's a lot that they need to figure out, and I think the Haas of Tanner Johnson spun it in that same hairpin again. Mercedes of Cosmic Cloud, he's not new to the series, he's just new to that team. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to try to make a move down to the Rascas. He's going to try it.
Well, the main thing he's got to watch out for is JD does have wing damage. That's why we're seeing this Ferrari so bad, is that he's not able to really attack the corners like he wants to, even though he's on the softer compounds.
Right. And he's now holding up the efforts of Cosmic Cloud and the Mercedes, and as we look, Bronson Stafford is pulled away. You can just see how much that JD was holding up his teammate, because he's trying to pull away from him, and now he's got to think about pitting. I know that it's early on in the race, but you're already on a 2-stop strategy with your soft tires. You might want to think about pitting now and maybe trying to 1-stop it with the hards.
Maybe come in, pit with the hards, and then finish the race out on mediums or on the softs at the end. You're just losing way too much time right now. You need to get onto better wing, and so you can start making some moves forward. But like we were saying, that gap between second and first place almost up to 9 seconds, and we're only 5 laps in. Anthony, this is looking kind of precarious for the rest of these drivers. As another spin in sector 2, as it's, the Haas machines having issues, just based on the fact that the Haas have been having so much issues. There's always a potential chance that when we see Bronson Stafford catch up to the Haas machines, will he be having issues getting by the Haas?
There's basically no room on the racetrack to do it. I don't know why Tanner Johnson's still on the track. He's got no front wing. He parked it in the hairpin. Now he's into the chicane, and he's just got nothing going right for him at the moment. He has to pit. He's been out there 1 lap too much. I think he might have lost his wing at the beginning of this lap, though.
Yeah, he lost it in sector 2.
It's a tough break for him, and kind of running like the old
more issues in sector 2 is Frozen actually is going to be having issues as safety car is out now.
Yeah, there's just too much going on. Second safety car of the season, and it's for the 2 Haas drivers who are struggling right now, as Frozen and Nerdia just lost his front wing like his teammate.
Both Haas machines running in the back of the field and continuously having issues here. And well, this is no surprise to Monaco. I mean, every single league, everyone struggles here at some point, and it's Haas drivers. I mean, the early trouble here is they both are going to come in, try to get their wings fixed up.
And someone else is coming in. The leader, Bronson Stafford, he's wanting to pit now. It's going to go on to the hard compound. So an interesting strategy call from the AlphaTauri team.
Going to the hards, and we'll see if we can push it all the way to the end. Everyone else also coming into the pits. So this is huge for the Ferraris. They can come in, fix their wings. Prix is the only machine staying out besides Tanner Johnson, who's still out there for some reason.
I don't agree with that at all. I don't know why Tanner's staying out that long. He's got to come in and pit for a wing. I don't think he realizes that he's missing a wing.
I mean,
surely he had.
I mean, we have heard the drivers thinking that with the new damage change for these drivers, that losing the wing might just be a cosmetic thing. It is not. It is legitimate damage that they're dealing with, and here comes the Haas machine now as he luckily the game saved himself, because he almost just threw that car into the wall, which would have caused even more damage, possibly taking him out of the race. But for now, the only driver that did not pit during this safety car is going to be the Ferrari of Prix.
You think he's maybe betting on there being another safety car?
Maybe he's just sticking to his guns, knowing he needs to pit at least one more time, and thinking maybe Bronson has to pit one more time to the end of this thing. But that is a risky call to be staying out there on these laps with this Ferrari team. I've been scratching my head all season long on their strategies, and continuously even here today.
Well, you know what's interesting though is that when we go green, barring a last-minute dive, there's going to be the lap machine now of, I believe that's Tanner John. No, that's Frozen Inerta between Prix and Bronson Stafford. It's going to be interesting to see going into turn one as soon as the safety car comes back in, because we've seen these Haas drivers have struggled, and these cars are not handling the best that they could be. And you know, with that amount of chaotic driving, you think that maybe Bronson's going to have to figure out a way to get around him quickly, or else he might be caught up in one of the shenanigans.
Yeah, it's always been on the entry of Sector 2 where it's all this chaoticness where the drivers are entering now. This is where the Haas driver has most issues. And if they have an issue here, they could be blocking up the whole entire track, gifting a win really to the Ferrari team, unless we see another safety car later on. But these are a lot of hypotheticals that are being thrown out, as right now we know Prix is in the lead, and we should be taking at least another 2 more laps around here safety car wise. But I mean, Anthony, we've only seen a couple of laps here. We know that the Haas drivers have been having issues. Are you surprised by the issues that the Ferraris have had early on here?
Well, JD was having some problems in practice. He didn't seem like he was the able to get consistent runs, and he was able to get a fast lap in towards the end of practice, but we saw him struggle to get around the track. He was having some problems with wheel spin. He ended up hitting the guardrail a few times going into the swimming pool section. And you know, I am surprised. At the same time, I also know the characteristics of Monaco, and unless you're perfect, you're gonna have something happen to you. And JD was one of those expenses. Now, right now, Breaky's not doing so bad, so it's one of the Ferraris that are having issues. But we shouldn't say anything yet, because this race, even though we're approaching already 25% way through the race, we still got a long way to go.
Yeah, it's still a very long way to go for these drivers. I mean, it's going to be a long race. Yes, this is new to the league. We have cut it down from a full race down to half a race that is going to continue on from here on to the end of the season. And these drivers are now having to think not long term, but short term. How many laps can I really go until I need to come to the pits? And Breaky's deciding it's better to stay out on those mediums, and I believe the marker he's looking for would be around lap 14 to about 16 is that window the Ferrari is looking before he needs to come in the pits for his final pit stop, which should be to the hards, unless he's thinking something different than what all of us have been looking on our strategy board.
Well, another thing we have to mention is, even though that the race is half distance, that also means that the tire wear is doubled. So essentially, you're gonna have to redo the way you've been thinking because you've been used to doing a full race and you know how long your tires can go on a full length run, and now you're having to readjust your mentality to basically make the same amount of pit stops, but in a shorter span of time. And maybe you're right. Maybe Brakey knows something that we don't know. Maybe he's reading something on his tire telemetry because we can't see that information, but we can make speculations. The safety car is coming in this lap, so a lot of these questions are going to be answered.
Coming to the start of lap 10 is when Brakey will be taking the green here. He'll be backing it down. Something I'm impressed by these drivers, not a lot of penalties so far. They've been keeping it clean, making sure they're not running into anyone during the safety car. I know there's a lot of other leagues where the drivers have issues with that, but so far, keeping it clean. And now we're green, and Brakey the Ferrari leads the way, and he's got himself a lap machine to block off everyone else.
He's just ended forward, whoa!
Out of the way goes Frozen, saying, I don't want to be blocking anyone up and don't want to run anyone else's race. I'll just dump it out of the way.
Frozen completely missed the zone and he went off into runoff. That could have been scary. That could have been his race done. He did get it stopped in time, no damage, but now he's got to figure out a way to get out of the runoff. It's kind of Austin Powersing his way to get out. But Brakey is going to be the leader through the hotel hairpin and now going down towards the tunnel. He's got a bit of a healthy lead. He's on the faster tire, but how long are those hards going to last? Because he pitted with a long way to go. So Bronson's going to have to make those hard tires last a total of 29 laps if he's going to win this race.
That's a long time. 25 laps is already a lot on those hard. He's trying to push in even 4 more laps past that. We'll have to wait and see how this Ferrari can do it, but that is a lot of effort that he's putting himself into. But as we're looking, I mean, during a lot of those sharp corners, there was some contact between the Mercedes and Ferrari machine of JD and Cosmic. So I'm wondering if JD possibly might have got, oh no! The wings they lost for the AlphaTauri team. That's on the left side, last corner, making a little bit of a dinger. As now the AlphaTauri team of Bronson Stafford now has to race with a semi-broken wing.
The left end plate has come off of the front wing, and that's going to hamper his performance a bit, as it looks like he's been able to try and keep up the pace, but that's not going to last very long. As you can see that the Mercedes and the Ferrari are closing in onto him. And we also have to mention, I didn't notice this, but both Cosmic and JD have hard tires as well, so they're thinking the same strategy as, whoa! JD tried to get right up on the gearbox through the hairpin, and now we're going back into the tunnel. This is going to be really chaotic down into the Nouvelle Chicane.
This driver's putting in all the effort that they can, and Spencer Hardison now, someone we haven't really talked about much, due to him being on those mediums, he's able to stick with these drivers that are on the hard a lot better, as he'll be staying with these drivers until about 10 laps onto each other's tires, and then we'll start to see the hard compounds starting to pull away from everyone else. And also, I think these guys that are on the harder compounds aren't worrying too much, because by the time that their tires really kick in, Bronson just pulled it in.
Bronson Stafford coming down pit road. The DRS has been re-enabled, but now he's going to think about a different tire strategy. He's going onto the mediums. So maybe the front wing damage was a blessing in disguise. Some of these drivers are going to be much slower than he's going to be on these tires, but I don't know if there's going to be a way to make a pass. He's going to have to do it on the front straight. Is basically where you're going to have to do it. And I don't know, he was keeping pace. I'm not sure why he's deciding to pit.
I mean, he was losing time. I mean, Cosmic right now is losing time because of all the pressure that he's getting from JD as well as Spencer Hardison. There is a lot of pressure, and mistakes are being made by this Mercedes car. And he's continuously sliding out of corners, and that's something that you really don't want to do that much of. As they continue to be running hard through the tunnel here, this is your battle for second place. Your leader right now.
Speaking of mistakes, he hits the left side barge board on the guardrail, and now he's spun it around. And it looks like that JD's got a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. A lot just happened in the chicane, and we have a lot to unpack.
As now we got Cosmic Cloud running in 4th place. His wings look fine, but man, was that a scary moment for all those drivers. Luckily, Spencer Hardison is still able to be running out here. Doesn't have any contact. JD still has a wing for himself, but does have that penalty now, and that's something he's going to have to worry about all race long, because now he's going to be ahead of everyone else. three-second gap between the car behind him if he wants to keep his position. And that's so difficult here at Monaco, as we've been seeing drivers are struggling to get away from one another unless you're in the lead.
Right, and it's going to be that way throughout the rest of the race. I would hate to be JD right now, having to think about that the entire time. And with the way that it's running, I mean, you see Spencer Hardison, he's trying his hardest to get up there. He's got the faster compound tire. He knows he can pass. Right now, he's in the net second place. So you got to be thinking this is the highest that he's ever been. He's made a team change. I don't know if it's permanent, but he usually races Red Bull. He's here in the Renault today. Renault has fielded a car for 2 races in a row. You'd think that maybe he's trying to get Renault off their feet to get them a podium and possibly a bid in the Constructors' Championship. But man, that pirouette in the chicane for Cosmic has hurt him a little bit. But honestly, it hasn't hurt him as much as I thought it would. He's still up to speed. I don't think that car took any damage from that.
No, it didn't take any damage. He just spun it around and then just landed it, kept on going. Only 3 seconds back from second and third place, so he's still within distance. And Spencer Hardison is sticking close and gaining just slightly through sector 3 and a little bit through sector 1 and sector 2, where we're seeing this Renault team losing a lot of time.
Sector 2 seems to definitely favor the Ferrari, and you know, it's funny, we saw a lot of these guys purpling sector 2 in practice, and they weren't getting too well around the rest of the track. He's right up on the gearbox of JD, and it's still tight for this second place position. Although it's not really much of a battle for second, it's really a battle for bragging rights at the moment. These two kind of running in their own little world, but we saw a lot of drivers be able to purple sector 2 and not be able to really make much of the rest of the lap. I've been surprised. The driving really hasn't been that bad for most of these drivers. The Haas drivers have been really the only ones that have had issues, other than the Mercedes spin and Bronson Stafford losing the wing. And man, it just, you got to think that these drivers, their mentality has to be that they had to be 100% laser focused at the moment.
As Tanner Johnson able to get out of the way for Bronson Stafford, moving that AlphaTauri team up to 5th place. Trying to close up as much as he can on the rest of these drivers, and we'll see if he can catch up to Cosmic before Cosmic needs to pit again.
Cosmic, I don't think he's gonna pit too much sooner than anyone else would. That's on the hards. He's only ran since the safety car came in. He's only ran about 5 laps at race pace on those tires, and it takes a little while for these tires to really break in. So we have to see how long it's going to be. Him and like half the field are on these hard tires. They all pit around the same time. Do you think Bronson's kind of maybe lucky that he had some front wing damage? He's able to be on the faster compound, although I don't know if he can make it was going to be a stretch of whether he can make the hards last this long. I don't know if he'll be able to make these mediums last that long.
He cannot make the mediums make it to the end from here, I don't believe. But really our marker to see how far these mediums can go is Prix, who continues to gap his teammate of JD by almost 11 seconds now, as Prix is just in his own time zone while JD is being pressured constantly by Spencer Hardison.
It's a little bit of reverse roles. We're not used to seeing the Ferrari leading the way, and we're not used to seeing Bronson Stafford in 5th, but yeah, this Renault has not let the Ferrari go. He's still within a second. There's only one DRS zone on this track, and that's the front stretch. There's not really anywhere else you can put it on this track. This is it's a unique track. It's the first street circuit that we've gone on this season. The only other one that we will be going to is Singapore, which by comparison is a much larger track than this is, and a much faster track. This is the tightest track on the circuit, and man, it's playing host to some great racing. As there's an issue for Spencer Hardison, he gets into the wall. No damage though, but he had to check up a lot.
Yeah, really had to practically stop it where he was at, slowing down Cosmic as well, which then also is bringing in that an AlphaTauri team of Bronson Stafford, who at last time we talked was about 10 seconds back. He's almost 5 seconds back now from Cosmic.
Yeah, he's making the gap, he's closing the gap. He's had some relatively clean air. He's only had to really deal with a couple of drivers, and you know, he's just kind of running his own race. We were talking about last week the amount of consistency that these drivers have to have, and in order to get good finishes, and Now we're seeing that the consistency, now he had an incident, and we're seeing that now it does prove that you need to have consistency week in and week out, because everyone last week had some problem in some way or another, and Bronson was the only one that didn't. This week, everyone seems to have some issues except for Brakey, who has got a 13.5-second lead to show for it. Now Bronson Stafford's going to have to make his way up through the field if he wants to win this race.
Spencer Hardison had that issue about a lap and a half ago, and he dropped back to about a second and a half. Now he's right back on the gearbox of that Ferrari again. I mean, that just shows Spencer Hardison is quick. He just cannot find the right spot to try to make a pass for a Ferrari.
No, we're closing in halfway. It's weird to say that we're closing in halfway this early on, but oh wow, and he looks like JD completely missed the braking zone and went right through the chicane. You have to make sure that you don't do that too many times. He's already got a time penalty. You don't want to get another one. And I don't know. Whoa! Wow! Spencer drove it in really deep and almost ran into the Ferrari, but did not. He's still right with him though, and this is bringing in the Mercedes of Cosmic with him.
And Bronson's right on the back bumper of Cosmic as he's hitting the DRS zone. Now going to be trying to make the pass and will make it. As Cosmic just gets out of the way, fastest lap goes the AlphaTauri team, who's catching up Spencer Hardison and JD.
Now I know that Cosmic handed over that position. He pulled off to the side and let him go through. There's no way, no sense to battle. You're not as fast on a slower compound tire, but Spencer and JD are both in a battle for position. How keen do you think they're going to be to let this AlphaTauri by?
Neither of them are thinking about giving this AlphaTauri a spot at all. And you know that JD is going to be battling hard because his teammate is out there in the lead. Might as well try to make it to where even if Brakey comes to the pits, he might still have the lead based on how well he's pulling away from everyone else and how hard we're seeing second be battled for.
Yeah, this is definitely going to slow down the progress of Bronson Stafford. He's going to have to pick a place to make a pass, and you know, this is one of those tracks, again, we've said it time in and time out, there's really nowhere to do it unless you're on the front stretch, and that's probably what Bronson is setting himself up for. He's going to have DRS, but so is Spencer, and you know, as we said earlier, he's not going to want to give that up. As well, he drives it deep into rest, casting. He almost ran into the Ferrari again. Going on the front stretch, we're going to complete halfway, and again, Spencer was pulled up to the side.
Drivers recognizing, I don't want to slow you up, and I'm going to give you that space. Recognizing speed is for speed, but JD is a different breed because he is part of Ferrari that's trying to hold off the rest of AlphaTauri. And really, the only man he needs to stop is that AlphaTauri team of Bronson Stafford at this point. So JD is going to battle as hard as he can as he bumps into the guardrail there. Oh my goodness.
Got to make sure that you don't take each other out. You don't want to end each other's races prematurely. And I think that, you know, maybe that's what Spencer Hardison was thinking, is like, you know, the guy in front of me has already got a penalty. I can catch him. I'm faster than him. So I don't necessarily need to push as hard. But JD, you know, he's still in a net third place at the moment because of his time penalty. And he's going to be assessed at the end of the track, or at the end of the race, my bad. He's got to be holding up Bronson because, you know, his teammate, like you said, is leading the race. I bet that there's some team orders going through that, you know, hold the Alpha up. This is important for the championship. And he tries to go through.
They're going to be tight here as they go through, and they're still side by side. But DRS giving the AlphaTauri team as he's going to start pulling away. Bronson Stafford is taking off, and now Brakey has just hit the window for the mediums for them to come in for that final stop.
And it looks like that JD just hit the guardrail out of the first turn. He's going to have the front left end plate of his wing smashed again. So this is a really bad situation for him, as he's got not only the Renault, but now the Mercedes of Cosmic, who's pulled up right behind the Renault, and this is going to be a three-way battle for the third position.
As here comes Spencer Hardison. He's been trying to figure out, how do I get by this Ferrari? Now's his chance with a wounded Ferrari. As JD, yes, has been struggling ever since practice, and it moved on here to the race. As these drivers running extremely hard here, about to be coming up to 19 laps left in this race. Once we see Brakey cross the line and halfway markers, oh no! Contact between the Renault and the Mercedes team. Both able to continue moving on. I think both wings are still okay, but that's a scary moment as Cosmic back into the guardrail.
And they try to go too wide through the entrance to the the swimming pool section, and that's a really fast left hand that you have to get off the throttle for. You can't really go too wide through there. It looks like there is end plate damage for the Renault. I'm not sure on the Mercedes, but JD's coming into pit.
I think he had to. We've opened up into that window. Now I'm going to be switching to mediums for this race, but Sector 2 incident, I think that might have been an issue. It was for one of the, it was Tanner who had issues there in Sector 2. Moving back up though, Bronson is chipping away at that lead that once was 15.5 seconds. It's now less than 14.5 seconds. AlphaTauri's coming, and even if we see Brakey coming to the pits, it's going to be rough for him as we get closer and closer to the end of this thing.
Well, Bronson Stafford might all start to pit again too, and let's not forget that both these drivers are in a one more stop situation, especially Brakey, who's been on these tires for a long time. You got to think that those tires are kind of crying on him at the moment, and Bronson's got fresher tires, and they're the same compound. We've seen that Bronson Stafford's faster in this race. He's got a big enough lead that if they were both to have to pit, I would say that maybe Brakey has the overall pace to hold him off for the amount of laps we have left, because we are past halfway. We're almost getting close to 10 laps to go, which is kind of weird to think considering the rest of the season's been full length, and you know, this might play out into Brakey's favor.
It could be. Brakey still is not pitted. Bronson has pitted twice. We'll see how these match up here coming to the end. Can Bronson keep those tires under him to the rest of this race? It's going to be close for himself. I want to say thank you for all those that have been coming over from the Monday Night Racing League. And Brian Vargas able to get the win in the trucks at Darlington, but right now we're watching the F1 cars at Monaco for the Slipstream F1 Championship. And these drivers putting on a show here so far. There's been a couple of rule changes coming into this season. We once were doing full-length races, decided here this week that the rest of the season is Cosman able to save it again, as that Mercedes has been wild. But the drivers and league owners have decided they're going to be keeping it half distance for the rest of the season moving forward. And these drivers have been putting on a show. Bronson Stafford, who's won every single race so far this season. We'll see if he can continue that streak. But breaking into the pits, moving to the softer compounds.
And he's going to go into hot lap mode. This will most likely be his last stop of the race. He's going to have to make those tires last. You get a bonus point for having the fastest lap, so if he can get that, then that's going to be a good thing for Ferrari, and maybe they can go further into the lead in the Constructors' Championship. Drivers' Championship, for those who don't know and are just coming over from the Truck Series, Bronson Stafford is the leader in the Drivers' Championship with a healthy lead over, I believe it's Brakey in the second place position for the Drivers' Championship. The Constructors' Championship, on the other hand, Ferrari has got about a 3 or 4 point lead over the AlphaTauri, which there has only been one AlphaTauri that has consistently made these races, and that is Bronson Stafford. The other Alpha has made 2 races, I believe, but that just shows you the overall pace that the one driver has versus the 2 drivers. AlphaTauri is still within striking distance of the Constructors' Championship as well. The race has been chaotic, as Sam mentioned. We have had one safety car so far, and that was for the 2 Haas drivers littering the track with their front wings. And so far tonight, it's been I gotta say, it's been a cleaner race than I thought it would, considering the track we're at.
Yeah, I honestly thought that we were going to be seeing a lot more chaoticness around here, but it's a small field, so it's all about you hitting your marks and not really worrying about, hey, if I make a mistake, I'm going to clogging up the rest of the field for the rest of the 19 or possibly 15 drivers behind me.
Indeed so, and Brakey just purpled Sector 3 at the end of that lap. He's got the faster compound tire. For those who aren't familiar with Formula 1, tire compounds are everything. We have 3 sets of compounds here. Tonight we have the softs, which are the red wall, we have mediums, which are yellow, and we have hards, which are white. The hard tire is the slowest compound, but it will last the longest, and vice versa for the softs. The mediums are somewhere between that and has been the preferred compound for this race. This is a street circuit. It's tight, it's fast, and it's taken out a couple of drivers' contention for a win. As we see JD with multiple wing problems, he is now mired back in the 4th position. Cosmic Cloud, I don't know if he hit it or if he just had a problem.
He pitted in. He was on the mediums. He was running time. Decides to go into the pits. Another frozen Inerta coming back into the pits. That is so many times we've seen him come in. But fastest lap so far is in Bronson Stafford's hands with a 113.0. Breaky, we've seen him run a 112 during practice, but does he want to push his machine that hard to get the fastest lap here today? So far, his fastest lap is a 113.4. Other drivers are going to be aiming for that mark. Cosmic as well, as so far he has ran a 114.9 as he's just started on those quicker laps. As we look at cars that have stopped so far, Frozen and Nerda, the most was 7. Bronson has 2 stops, 1 stop for Breaky, Spencer, 2 for JD, as well as Cosmic, and as well Tanner Johnson here for 3 stops. Biggest movers and losers. Biggest mover, Spencer Hartson up 2 positions. Biggest loser, Cosmic with 2.
And those are results of incidences that have happened on the track. As again, we have another car it's frozen again.
He's just sitting there waiting for traffic to go by, and then he's going to take off. Frozen, I will say, for the toss drive issues all night long, they've been very kind to everyone that they've been around, letting them have space, and then continuing to move forward once all the drivers have passed.
These are 2 drivers that last week had, they really had decent runs at Barcelona. In fact, we saw a couple of these Haas drivers in the top 5 at one point. I think one of them had a net podium at a certain point in the race, but Monaco is not a forgiving track, and these Haas drivers have obviously not figured it out, and you can't necessarily blame them. It's a tough track, and you gotta, like you said, credit to them for keeping out of the other drivers' way and being able to keep the racing clean, even though they've had issues. As he's going to come into the pits again, the Haas pit crew is having a workout day today.
I'm surprised they still have tires by the end of this thing. As looking at the telemetry, you can see it. That gap has been dwindling down. Breaky's catching Bronson Stafford, and we were questioning, can Bronson on the mediums make it to the end? I think the question might be yes, but how much of a gap will he have left, or will he be passed here by the Ferrari? Because Breaky is coming, but does he have enough time?
Breaky made the mediums last much longer than I thought that he would have. And that it's going to carry over to the AlphaTauri. Now, like you said, the gap is dwindling because obviously Breaky's on the much faster compound. We saw that the softs were a full 1.5 seconds faster than the mediums were. Now, the difference is that the mediums take a little bit of time before they fully get up to full competitive. And so, maybe that's what Bronson Stafford's hoping for. Maybe that he's waiting for these mediums to fully get broken in to find that sweet spot where they actually run at similar pace. Or maybe he's hoping that Breaky just can't get around the track as fast as he can, but it is definitely closing in as Frozen has got another 3-second penalty for multiple warnings.
So while Spencer Hardison coming into the pits, there's a yellow in sector 2. Couldn't figure out who that was for. But
Frozen letting Bronson Stafford go.
But here's the thing: we're watching this battle that potentially could be for the lead, but also this battle for 3rd place. As JD has a 3-second penalty, Cosmic Clouds is going to be trying to come in within 3 seconds. He's on the softer compounds. He might be able to gain up to JD here if he can continue to run similar laps, if not quicker than what he's been putting down.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that JD's in a good spot now, but just wait until that Mercedes kits up and go. Cosmic just got a 3-second penalty.
And that practically just throws it out the window, as well as JD's just been pulling away from Cosmic now. So it's not looking good for the Mercedes to get a podium finish here today, but for Ferrari, they're going for their 2nd time this season, having both machines in the podium, as they have a potential chance to do that here today. If not, we might even see a different winner here, as Breaky is almost within 4 seconds of Bronson Stafford.
Kind of seeing the interval stall out a little bit. I mean, he can see him going down into the chicane. He could see Bronson Stafford going down the hill. So, there's hope, but he's got to turn it up a little bit if he's going to get up there. I don't know how fast he's trying to push this car. He barely has any ERS left. He's going to have to find some extra speed in that Ferrari, but he's proven to be one of the fastest drivers. He's creeping in a little bit, but we've got 10 laps to go, or 11 laps to go, rather. So he's got to make some moves now.
As we're looking now, quickest lap time still goes to Bronson Stafford. He's trying to max out on points. Remember, fastest lap of the top 10. We only have 7, so everyone's at that potential chance. If they put down the fastest lap time, they get 1 bonus point added on to the points that they were going to get based on where they finish. And Baracchi is there within 4 seconds, but he's only got 11 laps to do this thing. Once we see Bronson cross the line, it will be 10 laps. He's kind of running out of time at this point. If we're going to see Baracchi catch up, I mean, it's been almost 10 laps now, and he's only gained about 3 seconds. He might be just right there by the end.
Another thing we have to bear in mind is that while Baracchi was able to make the mediums go a lot longer than what a lot of the strategies were saying, that Bronson still came in and got his tires before halfway. We had that during that safety car, he came in for hard, and then he got some wing damage, and then he came in, replaced his wing, and got these new tires. The thing is I don't know if he can make the mediums last that long, because he's pushing the limits of these tires, because Baracchi didn't stay out for more than 22 laps, and it's going to be close to 25 by the end of these this stint on these tires usability. I don't know if the tires are going to fall off severely, or if they're going to continue to run at a consistent pace, but it doesn't seem like Baracchi's been able to manage to make up any time. He actually made up a little bit. Now he's lost it. Yeah,
he was less than 4 seconds. He is now almost 4.5 seconds, as Bronson Stafford just hit the rocket jets as he's taking off.
Oh, we got a Mercedes stopped.
We have a Mercedes, as well as we had Tanner Johnson stopped there. Both drivers able to get going, almost a potential chance of another safety car coming out, which would have changed everything up front.
Looks like that Cosmic has gotten his Mercedes back going again. He was basically spun blocking the track at the exit of the swimming pool section, and now we're into the pits with him, and he's going to get medium tires. The Haas is in also, and again, the Haas team is having a field day with the practice pit road strat.
I mean, they've had a total, they've had a total of 12 pit stops for Haas. This is practice, if anything, for that team. They must be the best pits team by the end of the season after all this practice they've had. But back out there, Cosmic's going to be on the mediums, which I'm surprised he might have ran out of softs on what to use, because it's a weekend use for all the tires that you can use for practice, qualifying, and for the race. These drivers have the potential of running out of tires once they're out there on track.
Yeah, that's going to really mess up your strategy. If you used up a lot of your tires during practice, then you're not going to be able to have those tires again. And well, I mean, it doesn't really matter because you're allocated tires for each session, but it does determine what tires you get in the sessions, because depending on what you use in practice determines what you get in race. So making everything that I just said null and void.
A little bit. As drivers continue to run on, we're coming closer and closer to the end of this thing. Bronson, once he crosses the line here, it's going to be 8 laps to go. And AlphaTauri, once again, even with the struggles Bronson had, even with shrinking the distance, so we wasn't going to have as much of a distance as he usually would on the rest of the field, he's still out there running away from Ferrari.
Yeah, and he's had to overcome a lot in this race. The issue he had with his wing, the safety car, and coming down for an unscheduled stop for his medium tires. You got to give him credit. He's been able to get back up to the front of the field on pace, because he had to come down for these mediums after the safety car was out. So you got to give him a lot of credit here. He's been able to make this strategy work, and now he's got a 5.1 second gap over Baracchi, and this gap continues to grow. And I think that maybe Baracchi might have used up his soft tires a little bit too much too quickly.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that Baracchi has had for this whole entire time of Slipstream being a thing. I mean, back even in the Xbox days, Prix would be someone that would push his car to the max every single time and be one of the first cars on pit road because he would overuse his tires. And we saw it here. He was seeing that gap dwindling away every single lap. Thought he could possibly catch up to Bronson. Well, Bronson's just hitting his marks and keeping at his pace. Now we see it now, that whole entire gap that Prix had caught up to after coming into the pits, it is now gone. He is back where he was, back to ground zero.
And it's a shame because we thought that maybe he would have had a run. This Ferrari team has, you know, they've had some interesting strategy calls this season, and we've seen another one. I looking back, I don't think I would have put him on the soft tires so quickly. He could have stayed out or maybe gone to the hards and been able to gone all the way to the end. And I just think it's tire fatigue. He can't keep up with the tire that lasts longer, and Bronson's been a little bit easier on the brakes and has overall a smoother lap. But you know, the race isn't over yet. We still got a little bit way to go, but it's looking bleak for Ferrari.
Yeah, it really is. Another caution back in sector 2, and I believe that was with the Haas drivers again. As we move back up to Bronson, I mean, the closest gap is from first to second. Everyone else pretty set in stone, unless you see a mistake here. But as we see everyone kind of spaced out at the moment, we'll continue to watch to see if anyone makes a mistake. But looking forward to next week, I mean, Bronson's probably has this track circled up as we're going to Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal. As Bronson being a Canadian, he wants to win his home track. And if he wins here today and then wins next week, that is 6 races in a row that this AlphaTauri team has won.
Yeah, it's a big effort from this team. And you know, we were asking ourselves at the beginning of the season, like, who's going to be the fastest amongst these drivers? Who's going to have the overall pace? And in Australia, it was a close race. Everyone seemed like they were right on top of each other. And then the safety car came out, and Bronson Stafford had a 5-second penalty, and was just like, oh, no problem. And then walks away and got a 10-second lead by the end of the race. And then he carried over into Bahrain, where he was, again, the only one that didn't have any issues. Everyone was having some form of problem. The track took a lot of drivers by surprise by how much they spun around, and then we moved on to the new track, which, you know, threw a bit of a curveball into a lot of these drivers. They didn't really know how to handle it, and Zandvoort was, again, an interesting race to see, but Bronson was able to get out in front and keep the lead. And moving on to Barcelona, again, Bronson was the only one without any issues. Everyone else had either a spin, an off-track moment, and he was the only one that did not. And here today, Bronson has had issues. Don't let the interval fool you. That 10-second lead, that nearly 10-second lead, he's had to work for it, as now he is the leader again of the Monaco Grand Prix.
I mean, it's so shattering, team, right? Prix has had probably the cleanest race so far. Hasn't had any issues, just been running his race, and usually those are the factors that you need to win this race. But obviously, entire strategy is what killed this Ferrari team.
Yeah, it was, we said it earlier, and it was too early. It was just too early to put him on the softs, and you know, it was a gamble. You know, there's plenty of casinos here, so they thought that maybe they'd also get in the spirit, and it didn't quite work out for him this time. But Canada's a very different animal. It's a very fast track, and wow, Breaky's pitting.
Yeah, he overused those tires, says he's done coming into the pits, and this is where things get a little bit more interesting because JD is coming.
And JD really wants that position, although he's on the back half of the racetrack. He's going through the swimming pool section. We have a yellow flag somewhere. That's a Haas driver. I believe that's Tanner Johnson, who has bended it coming out of the chicane. And now he's got more front end damage on his wing, and you know, Haas has got to be running out of wings too. I just thought of that. Like, yeah, they're running out of tires, but how many wings do they have left?
Well, it seems like every single time they've come into the pits, they came in with a different wing. I think they might be out of wings, out of tires for the rest of the season. I don't know if we'll see Haas next week, but this is mechanically this is an adventurous day. If this is real life for the Haas team. Luckily, we're on the virtual world, but we will be seeing them next week, and I think they will be ecstatic to see Canada because These Haas guys drive a lot faster and a lot better at these faster racetracks that are more chicane and not here at actual road courses, street road courses, excuse me. And these drivers looking for a lot. Is in the pits is Bronson Stafford.
Interesting. Oh, he's gonna go for some hot laps. He's on
It's the hot lap challenge. Oh.
The Haas came out right in front of him, so now he's got to deal with the Haas on the worst part of the track. He's gonna go on the run up the hill into Massenet. It's gonna be an interesting thing. And now Cosmic Cloud is in the mix too. Now these drivers are being shown the blue
Cosmic's right on the back bumper of the AlphaTauri. Decides to back off. Says, hey, that's the leader. I don't want to mess with them. But this is tricky for our front runners as the Haas gets out of the way clean.
That could have been interesting, and we got yellows again. That's just for slowing down cars in Sector 2, where it was the beginning. Well, it was kind of in Sector 1, really.
As you guys can see on the bottom right, that's our full track map. You can see on the dots where drivers are. Bronson, as you can see, it is clean track for him. For Breaky, it's not. So if you're trying to put hot laps down, trying to get that bonus lap, Bronson is set up and ready for it. And right now, Bronson already has the fastest lap, but he knew if Breaky comes into the pits, he had plenty of time for himself to come in and still have that gap in the lead.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know, like he saw that happen. The Ferraris pulled him in and was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it too. And he did. Now he's got 2 laps to set the best lap. I think he's got the capability to do that.
Easily has the capability here. And this was something that we brought up to the drivers, I think, week 2. Hey, if you've got space, you might as well go out there and set a faster lap time as Breaky does it with a 1:12.0. We'll see Bronson on this lap if he can crush that time, because we know he can do a 1:11. He did it during practice. We'll see if he can do it here. Purple Sector 1, as we're 2 laps to the end of this race, and it's hot lap time for our front 2 runners.
This race has taken a shift. It's now about who can have the best lap, and the race, barring an incident, the lead of this race has been settled. We still got 1 bonus point to fight over, and you know, now it's going to be a sense of one-upsmanship. It's like, yeah, I did this lap, okay, now it's my turn, and now here comes Bronson coming through to complete sector 2, I believe, and now he's going to purple sector 2.
He's purple sector 1, he's purple sector 2. The AlphaTauri team is trying to get the fastest lap of the day here. He's done it 3 times this season, where Bronson Stafford has completely wiped the floor with the fastest lap and getting the win, maxing out on points. As now he puts down the fastest lap with a 1:11.5, crushing Breaky's time.
We are on the final lap of the race. And yeah, like I said, 1:11.5, that crushes all the morale in the rest of the field. Any chance that Breaky had for a faster lap, I think might have been dashed, as now he's on the way up to towards Casino. And man, it's been all Bronson Stafford from pretty much the start to the finish. Even though that we had a lot of the middle of the race was Ferrari, Bronson has proved that, yeah, you can knock me down, but I will come back and I will win this race somehow, some way, down to the chicane for the final time. Bronson Stafford has put on a clinic.
And you see there the Haas driver getting out of the way cleanly, giving the AlphaTauri teams plenty of space and plenty of room. Coming through Sector 3, it's going to be Bronson Stafford. I mean, for 39 laps, we cut the race in half, but man, it has been a hard, short race for this AlphaTauri team. Through all the struggles, through all the pain, throughout the pace, he's shown that he's the fastest car here and does it for the 5th time this season. AlphaTauri, Bronson Stafford gets another win this season and maxing out those points.
Here comes the Ferrari of Breaky to come across the line for a 2nd place position. That's his, I believe, second place this season. And again, Ferrari on the podium, and if everything goes well, JD will cruise to a 3rd place position. So it'll be the 2nd week in a row that Ferrari has gotten on podium, and it's going to be, I believe, for the 2nd time this season that Ferrari have gotten both their drivers on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, both drivers on the podium. I believe every single week there has been a Ferrari in the podium. And the only issue is the driver that won this race. Bronson Stafford does it again. I mean, massive gap. Once again, I even made a joke before the broadcast of they slimmed down this season to help themselves so the Bronson wouldn't have such a big gap, but he still does it here today at Monaco.
10.9 seconds was the interval between first and second. And you gotta give the man credit. He's been able to figure out the hardest track on the circuit. Bronson Stafford, 5th win of the season. We only got 10 races left. You think he could go for the sweep?
I mean, here's the thing. Bronson Stafford given driver of the race and not, driver of the day, not surprised by that. As we continue on forward, like I said, we've got some new blood coming back into this thing. Matt Dyer will be back next month. I mean, he changed up his work schedule, so he'll be able to be running with these guys for the final about 5 to 6 races. And we saw last week, he was quick. We also have Patrick Young. He's the next hot driver that we're expecting to see run really well, joining Mercedes. And he's someone that also has pretty similar pace to Bronson Stafford and could be someone that could be hunting Stafford down for a win. So a lot of these drivers we're expecting to see in great shows. But man, it is going to be fun out here. Sorry for that press there. I accidentally pressed the wrong button. We were trying to get to this button. We're here for the wrap-up show. Bronson Stafford gets the win. Brakey tried his best. Second place, JD, Spencer Hardison, Cosmic Cloud, Johnson, as well as Frozen. That is the way that this race ended out, as Frozen decided I'm going to DNF this on the final lap. But wrapping this race up, I mean, we're getting ready for interviews, but Anthony, was there anything that was really surprising for you during this race?
The overall pace that the AlphaTauri had, I thought for sure that once he fell back down the order that he would kind of take a lot longer to get back to the front, but he was able to carve his way through the field. He broke the stigma of not being able to pass at Monaco, and he was able to make a lot of key passes, and not all of them were easy. Some of them he was able to make them on the front stretch. Some of the drivers, knowing that they weren't going to be able to compete with them, moved over and gave them the position, a good show of sportsmanship. But he made a couple of dives into turn one and was able to really put some pressure on some drivers, and especially down in the chicane, he was able to make some moves down there. So it wasn't all easy for AlphaTauri today. And, you know, again, you got to give him credit for one heck of a drive.
It was a major drive that we were seeing there. We're waiting to see drivers getting set up and ready for interviews. But like we said, next week is going to be at Canada, and these drivers, they went from narrow, slow, hard racing to now it's going to be wide open, fast courses, a lot of fast chicanes these drivers are going to be running. Excited to see how these drivers are going to be moving on forward, as it's going to be a fun race to watch as we're looking to see. I believe that the drivers are trying to get set for interviews. We're still waiting on JD, but we can always start off with second place finisher Logan Brakey, who comes up short again, just a little bit behind. Logan, it's Sam and Anthony up in the booth. You got us?
Got you guys.
And I know that you were hoping for a win, but it looked like strategy was the reason that you just weren't there at the end.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm pretty upset with myself over that one. That's definitely the one that got away. You know, my pace was good all race, and I don't think it was necessarily the strategy call. It was me coming in too early on the mediums that I think costed me that win. The gap between me and Bronson was closing up really, really quickly whenever I was first and he was making his way through the field. And I got in my head, the more I saw the gap close, the further ahead I knew he would be, and the less time I had to catch him if I would have stayed out until I was scheduled to come in. So I think I just boxed a little bit too early to put on those softs, and I was catching on the softs too, but then they just burnt out and I had nothing left. So I'm definitely going to lose sleep over this one. This is the one that got away.
Yeah, I mean, this was a hard one. It looked, besides that strategy, it looked like it was a pretty clean race on your part. Were there any mistakes that you saw on your end?
No, I was actually, I'm normally trying to stay pretty humble, but I actually drove a pretty perfect race. I didn't make any contact with the wall other than when Bronson and I were side by side on lap one there. That was the only wall contact I made all race. So I drove a fantastic race. So I'm proud of that. but to only be bringing home 18 points instead of 25 is going to be really gutting.
You were able to manage this track. This is the hardest track that we're going to on the circuit, barring possibly Singapore. You definitely were able to master this track. How confident do you feel that once we get to some of these other tracks, such as Singapore, how confident do you think that maybe you can replicate some of the luck you had today?
Yeah, Singapore has always been a track I've actually struggled to find pace on. Sector 2, the back half of Sector 2 and Sector 3 are really tough for me at Singapore. I struggled to lay down some decent pace there, but Canada's next week. That's a good track for me. I always have some pretty good pace there. What else we have coming up? Austria is a quick track as well. So there's a couple tracks that are coming up that I expect that I'll have some decent pace at once again. But I'm not going to forget this one for a while. This is going to eat me up pretty good.
Yeah, it's going to be 4 very quick racetracks in a row here coming up. So it's going to be interesting. Logan, again, I know this one's going to hurt, but before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shoutouts.
Yeah, just first and foremost, want to thank you guys for broadcasting this week in and week out. And thanks to all the guys for showing up. It was actually, we had a lot of fun there over the radio. Guys were bouncing off the wall, busting wings, but they were taking it like champions. So they were having a lot of fun, and it was a lot of fun to listen to. I went pretty quiet there in the later stages because I was pretty focused to try and catch Bronson, but it was a good group this week. And thanks to my mom once again for watching every one of these races. She's always there to support me through these. So it's a bummer that I couldn't win one of these and go celebrate with her about it. But yeah, that's it.
That's Logan Brakey in the Ferrari team getting a second place finish, his 3rd podium of the season, expecting to possibly get a win next season. Hopefully we get to talk to you next week there, Logan.
Thanks, guys.
And we did get JD up in the waiting room, so we'll be bringing him in next, 3rd place finisher. And I know JD had a wild ride here today with wing damage. JD, it's Sam and Anthony up in the booth. You got us?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
We watched from practice to qualifying and to the race, and it just seemed like for the whole entire time you were trying to figure out Monaco. You might have figured it out by the end, but it seemed like this race just was not completely yours.
Yeah, I was really struggling with just the steering inputs. Like I just couldn't seem to find any consistency with turning into corners, and I don't know. It was tough for me to register even when it looked like I was going all right. I really was struggling to find, like, because muscle memory is so important during races, and I couldn't get my head around it for whatever reason. But I think I'll take home a P3 at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's your 4th podium finish of the season, so it's not a bad day fully, but you had a lot of venturing going on in that first half of that race, excuse me. How was it on your side when you were just battling around everyone?
I had a good start. Got around Caleb turn 1, and I think Logan tried to let me through, and so that was nice of him. But again, it was just fighting the wheel, just fighting the car. I was really struggling with the hairpin, even though I was full lock on the wheel. It just didn't want to make the corner, and I don't know what happened. I had no force feedback the whole race, and it was cool trying to hold off Caleb and Spencer and then chase him down. But I kind of knew it wasn't really worth fighting them over, because eventually I think someone, whether it was me or them, was going to make a mistake, and it happened. And once I got out clear air around, I'd say lap 15, lap 18, kind of just put it on cruise control and really paid no attention to front or behind, just brought home the result.
Now, you had a decent run tonight. It was a challenging race for sure. The next week we're going to Canada, which is basically the polar opposite to this racetrack. What do you think that your efforts are going to be there? Do you think that maybe you could possibly get up there and maybe challenge for a win?
Well, I don't think it's a totally I don't think it's totally polar opposite because you still got a lot of chicanes. You're just approaching them at higher speeds. The walls are still pretty close, you know. Corner speeds are still pretty slow, and you just got longer straights to go with it. So it's not a completely different angle of attack, if you will. But for my chances personally, I'm not sure. I need to get some more time in. Just my personal karting responsibilities have kind of gotten in the way of preparing for Slipstream. So if I can get some time on the track, I'll be a little bit more confident right now. But even this week, I didn't prepare at all, and coming to practice tonight was pretty much my first look at the track in this game. So we'll see. I'm not totally discounting a podium or a win, but yeah.
Well, JD, before we let you go, we're gonna actually hand the floor off to you. Any shout-outs you got? I
just want to thank the guys that have been coming to the league loyally, you know, and also Logan been putting up with our silliness during the races, but I think he put on a good show, reviving the league, and it's nice to have some guys faithfully following what him mostly him, but him and I have put together.
Yeah, we're excited to see more drivers showing up. We know we got full of drivers coming in the next few weeks to a month from now. So we're excited for that. But JD coming in with a third place finish here today in the Ferrari. Like I said, given your fourth podium of the season. Hopefully you can continue on from here. But have a great rest of your night, Justin, and hopefully we'll be talking to you next week.
Yep, looking forward to next week. Thanks, guys.
I mean, Anthony, it's been wild watching all these guys racing here. But I mean, the one consistent that we've been seeing is this man, Bronson Stafford, up in the booth. Bronson, it's Sam and Anthony. You got us?
Yep.
Well, it's win number 5 for yourself, but it did not come easy. That was probably your hardest race that we've seen all season long. How was it from your end?
Hard. At one point, I threw it away. I knocked half the wing off with the hards and figured, you know, might as well just at least throw the mediums on. Brakey was still pulling away, so figured I'd try and, you know, do the undercut, but caught the field and had to pass Caleb and Spencer and JD and stuff, and luckily got through them not too bad and was able to have a little bit of a gap to Brakey, but he had the softs and I thought he'd really run me down, but was able to keep the gap and ultimately get fastest lap in the win, which is what I need to do until my teammate's back, really.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the fastest lap, we saw there at the end, Brakey came into the pits with about 3 laps to go, and then you followed suit by coming in. Was that just because you knew you needed that bonus point and you didn't want to give it to Ferrari?
Yeah, it's really hard to try and go for constructors, but just trying to minimize the damage really until Shane's back, I guess, and then we can really make a run for it, hopefully. But getting the win and fastest lap, the 1 extra point doesn't seem like much, but when you're going against 2 people, it matters a little bit. So
we've seen you've been able to hold the constructors lead or keep it close with the Ferraris at the very least. And, you know, considering that most of these races have been run with just you for AlphaTauri, it really is something special to watch week in and week out. We thought that the points lead would be much larger between Alpha and Ferrari, but definitely proving us wrong. Do you think that this string of good luck will keep running, and are you looking forward to next week's race in Canada?
I don't know. It's just like you say, it's kind of some good luck. Luckily,
skill, I should say.
Yeah, there's luck involved too. I've had some luck with JD having some issues with self spins or braking and such. They haven't gotten a 2-3 like consistently. Like I feel like they could, and even like 1 and 2s and 1-3s and stuff like that. So there's definitely the pace. There's definitely battling to still going on. Canada, sure. I mean, home race. Why not be a little bit excited? I'm not actually a huge fan of the track. It's just straightaways and chicanes, and it's just kind of repetitive. But we should have a decent race. I think everyone's pretty solid at Canada. Everyone's usually pretty close on time. So
Yeah, I mean, Bronson, I know that we're having some new drivers coming in. We Patrick Young, Matt's going to be coming back in a month or so. With new drivers coming in that have shown that they've got pace to rival you at points, are you concerned that this streak of you possibly basically sweeping the season might come to an end here in the next couple of weeks?
I mean, I think you always got to think about it, but I honestly wouldn't mind it. I think it'd be great to have. It'll be great to have Matt and Patrick come in and Shane come back and stuff just for points and everything. It's always more fun to have more people racing, whether they're better than you or not. You still, you know, you can learn a lot by following their lines, watching them, or you can just kind of have some fun racing with someone on equal pace. And Spain showed that Matt was really quick. I know he had an issue towards the end, and Patrick, obviously in another league, we race in the same division. So, you know, I'm excited. Matt and Patrick will be good additions, and hopefully we keep the field size going up.
That's what we're most excited about. Well, before we let you go, Bronson, and go celebrate another, off to you.
Yeah, just definitely you guys at FRN. I hope the 50% races were a little bit better for trying to keep the action condensed. It was a lot more exciting on track, that's for sure. The gaps were a lot closer, and there's a little bit more strategy play, and obviously Brakey and JD and stuff for throwing the league on, and you know, making the change on really just out of a whim kind of thing. And so far it worked out pretty good for this race, so hopefully it continues on for the season.
Well, that's Bronson Stafford getting his 5th win of the season for AlphaTauri and trying his best to really hold off everyone else. But Anthony, I mean, coming to the end of this race, we knew it was going to be technical. We knew it was going to be difficult. But man, that was a fun race overall.
That had a lot of ups and downs for a lot of drivers, and it just proves that, you know, just because you're down thinking that your race is over, then, you know, just keep going. It might not be the end of it, and Bronson was able to show that you can win a race even though that all hope is lost. And I'm looking forward to next week. It's going to be one of the fastest tracks on the entire season, and it's going to be close, as a lot of these drivers are looking forward to it. Some aren't looking forward to it so much, and you know, that might just prove that someone might challenge for the lead.
Yeah, I mean, we are going to a lot of very quick tracks here in the next couple of weeks. We've got Canada, we've got Austria, we're going to Britain, Belgium, and then Italy. Those are some extremely quick racetracks that these drivers are going to be having a blast, really, after this really technical, slow course that we were just at. But, you know, the racing never ends here on FRN. It continues on tomorrow as the Hijinks 87 series. Those drivers are going to be having some fun as they continue to be inching closer and closer to the end of the season. Seth and myself will be covering that one and even more action as we come into Wednesdays. I believe there's going to be some ASCORs going on. I think that might be the reschedule of Iowa for those drivers. But a lot of racing throughout the week. If you want to stay in touch, follow and subscribe for our YouTube channel to see more action. But Anthony, thank you again for being in the booth. And if you got any final thoughts here, you can say them.
I'd just like to thank FRN for, again, giving me the opportunity to commentate on not only this race, but also other leagues that we are broadcasting on the FRN channel. Thank you for commentating with me. This has been super fun. I get excited every Monday because I'm like, oh, it's Formula One day. It's going to be great. And I can't wait for next week, and I can't wait for all the other stuff on FRN. And again, thank you all for having me.
All the action will continue on, but for tonight's race at Monaco, it goes to Bronson Stafford of AlphaTauri. First 5th race of the season, gets another win. I mean, this guy has been dominant. We'll see if the dominance continues on next week. More drivers, new blood being entered into this league. We'll see if they'll be able to stop this AlphaTauri team. But for myself and Anthony, thank you for watching another presentation of the Flatout Racing Network. More action continues on, but for tonight, have a great rest of your night.